How well is Hollywood handling the inauguration of President Donald J. Trump, the 47th president in your playbooks, but number one in your hearts? Well, let's take a look with their number one emissary of all things woke and detestable, Mark Hamill, and he's taking a bit of a sabbatical from Blue Sky or wherever the hell he's posting, I guess, because he announced, I'm leaving Twitter, until I don't know, Child Protective Services goes in there and shuts down Blue Sky, but that's neither here nor there. That's another topic for another time. But he announced that he was going to be quitting social media as a sign of protest for one whole week, and then breaking his silence after 8 hours because of course not, and because of course he had to. What a freak. Star Wars actor Mark Hamill. It's hilarious, right? Because he came back briefly in 2017. I guess he was there in the final scene of The Force Awakens, but your only notable credits is when he had a starring role most recently in 1983. Okay, Mark Hamill has been one of the most Trump deranged of all celebrities. Legitimately, oh man. Like, maybe Robert De Niro is more deranged, but he's less articulate, so it's tough to really assess that because everything that comes out of Mark Hamill's mouth is in regards to Trump. So yeah, he's probably the worst, okay? Claimed he would be quitting social media for the next week to protest the Trump's inauguration, then come back online within hours to show his week. Well, during the election, Hamill posted such deranged content about Donald Trump that he appeared that he was working for the Biden and Harris campaign as a paid contributor. Well, yeah, I thought so because he was at the White House and he was talking about, oh my God, stumping for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I just remember that. God damn it, man. That was super cringe. But speaking about his most recent freak out, okay, yesterday, however, Mark Hamill announced he would be making a new pointless protest on Blue Sky. Yeah, okay, because over there you're just simply preaching to the converted, where he has significantly less followers and interaction. He said from midnight tonight until next Saturday morning, there's no TV, no internet, no social media, no nothing for me. Symbolic protest is better than none at all. 5-day blackout, which he posted alongside with an all-black image. Yeah, I guess of just crumpled black paper, but I got 33,000 likes on that, huh? If it wasn't sad enough, in posting a mere 8 hours later, he broke his own social media promise, a symbolic protest by posting him making some ridiculous claim about justice coming. Justice is coming eventually. Martin Luther King Day 2025. What the yeah, okay, bro. Both ironic that Hamill posts asking to silently suffer as he breaks his own vow of silence. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's super pathetic. It's almost as pathetic, as stumping. Posting pictures about, oh my God, they said Trump on their sign. That means it got posted because it's like big funny. But working with the government in just such an absolute shill way. Like, I want you to compare and contrast this with the way that Joe Biden weaponized and used celebrities, which Mark Hamill, at this point in time, I think more people know him for his deranged social media activity as opposed to being Luke Skywalker. But even somebody who can't stand Trump can just simply go ahead and not act rationally because, guys, simply for posterity's sake, you look right there. Big fan of Arnold, okay? I look down all the time and I can see Total Recall, my unbelievably true life story. I've got the 7 tools for life, be useful. It's all about the things that my father told me. I'm a huge fan of Arnie, okay? I think he's one of the greatest ever, one of the best to do it, but he's totally and completely just, like, he lost the plot years ago. But even the rumor of him going around taking a, let's just say, America blackout, okay? He's taking an America protest, okay? Yeah, don't believe the fake news. I was born in Austria, but I was made in America. I'd never leave. I love it, man. And I so desperately want, Arnold. I don't need him to put on a MAGA hat. I don't need him to turn up at the White House and bury the hatchet with Trump. I want old Arnie back so bad. Please make it happen before it's, it's all said and done. Maybe this is the way the people who just have a real affinity for Star Wars just go look at Mark Hamill. But as somebody who has read the encyclopedia of bodybuilding back to front several times, okay, who's watched Pumping Iron, it's the most watched documentary. Just please have a moment of lucidity. Don't go down that De Niro Hamill pipeline, okay? And just make good with some of your action hero contemporaries that are gonna stave off the destruction of Hollywood. okay, who are going to revitalize that dying industry because, oh boy, 2025, like 2024 was not great, okay? Even though, and depending on the way that you want to categorize Moana, you had $2-3 billion hits, but outside of that, ticket sales were down, box office numbers were down. I know that Avatar 3 is going to come out, probably make $2.5 billion, and nobody will remember it by the time 2026 rolls around. But Hollywood's in trouble, okay? You can have all of your stupid custom popcorn boxes that you want, but fewer and fewer people have faith that Hollywood can provide any sort of entertainment. Not just stuff that's devoid of overt political messaging, but just like good quality entertainment. Like, when was the last time that you went to the theater and you really remember a film that came out? Okay, something that has stood the test of time that you go, you know what, that really is going to be going in my top 5, top 10 films of all time. Now, I haven't been to the theater since 2011. Dark Knight Rises, that was the last time that I went because nothing has really tickled my fancy. I unironically think that, okay? And the newer films, okay, I talk like such an antiquated individual, but I've recently watched, and by the time that you guys see this, I think rewatched the Hobbit movies, and they're pretty trash. Like, they're 4s, okay? Like, they don't get it twisted. Just because I've watched them multiple times doesn't mean I like them. I'm just perplexed by them because there's aspects in there that I do like, and a bunch of the performances are fantastic. And when you trim a bunch of the fat, there's a genuinely fine movie that's in there. The M4 book edit definitely makes that like a 6 film, and if you can go ahead and you can kind of rejigger some of that stuff, you probably got an 8 on your hands, just to make it flow a little bit better, because some of it's a little bit disjointed and you kind of got to fill in some blanks there. But they did a very good job, and there is a salvageable film in that 9 hours of awful content. But, you know, even though by the time you guys see this, I will have rewatched them, but at least at this point in time, I have yet to rewatch them. I know that I don't like them, and I know that they definitely don't hold a candle, as at this point in time, I have rewatched Lord of the Rings, and I already have it scheduled in 2 weeks from now that I'm going to be rewatching, you know, the extended versions again. Like, those are films that stand the test of time. And those films are 25 years old. 25, 26, and 27. Well, I guess 26, 27, 28 years old. Holy shit. I remember the first time watching them. I remember, you know, multiple viewings of Two Towers. And, yeah, just because I'm on this tangent right now, it's kind of funny, right? Because it's been a while since I've watched the extended cuts again, that I've watched, you know, Lord of the Rings, full stop. I've seen many reviews. I've seen many clips time and time again. But I always thought that Two Towers was my favorite. And even, you know, watching the trilogy again, it's still my favorite, but it's the one that I have the most problems with. Like, of the 3 plot points, okay, like the Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas stuff, like that's A+ stuff. Like, that's that is probably my favorite plot line. Probably not the best plot line, because I would reserve that for, you know, a lot of the stuff when it comes to Fellowship. But that plot line's fantastic stuff, especially with Theoden, who's just amazing in that. Okay, Helm's Deep goes without saying. But then the B plot of Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, okay, with the addition of Faramir on top of that and going to Osgiliath, all of that stuff, like, that's also A+ stuff. Like, that is top 3 plot lines throughout the entire trilogy. It's just the Merry and Pippin and the Ent stuff that's just, like, really not fantastic the entire way through. Like, you're dealing with 2 11 out of 10 plot lines being dragged down by something that has a fantastic payoff, like the Ents attacking Isengard and ultimately leading to the, you know, destruction of Saruman. That's amazing, but you got the Entwives stuff and the Ent draft and just so much wasted time with, oh, it just took us an entire day to say good morning, and how does that logically make sense? Like, there's a bunch of broken shit that's in that. So yeah, that's not great. It's still my favorite, but it's not great. But it's funny, in rewatching that trilogy, like, Return of the King is still as great as I remember it as being, okay? Like, I don't want to say that it's, you know, worse than any of that. We're dealing with the 310 movies, okay? Like, it's just, they're amazing movies. They're masterpieces. Not going to say that they're perfect, but 10 on 10 just means masterpiece, you know, top of its class, you know, yet to be bettered. But Fellowship has really risen in my estimation. Like, I forgot just how good some of those scenes really were. Like, the Council of Elrond. Like, I always knew it was good, but I didn't realize how great Boromir was in it. That's one of those things, right? Like, you can go back and you can watch these films from an era gone by. You can go back and watch Gladiator again and pick out some things that you missed beforehand and realize how great these films were. How much stuff is coming out in today's day and age where you can go back and watch it and it actually improves in your estimation? Yeah, I don't think you can do that with much, if anything, that's out there. Okay, so that's why bringing back these icons who have made some of the best films ever. Okay, appointing Trump taps Hollywood legends to revive the industry ruined by identity politics. Appoints Mel Gibson. Okay, a little film called Braveheart, a little franchise called Lethal Weapon. Okay, if you just think that they're stupid action films, go back and watch the first couple of Lethal Weapon films. Okay, Lethal Weapon 3 is a little bit flumpy, but adding Joe Pesci to anything is like, there's a certain entertainment factor there. And Lethal Weapon 4 isn't great, but I've got hope for 5 whenever that does come back around. And then, of course, Stallone, it's like, it goes without saying, do we really need to run down his resume? And in my estimation, Rocky 1 is the best sports film literally ever. And John Voight, I mean, some of the best films literally ever include John Voight, but he's just kind of a little bit of an outlier when it comes to this. But Mel Gibson and Stallone, obviously, I think at today's day and age, and especially, in an industry relatively devoid of stars, probably two of the biggest ones that are out there. Because for as much as Hollywood doesn't have the stones to put Mel Gibson in a leading role out there, like, you make an old man Mad Max film, that shit's gonna do gangbusters. You want to do Rambo Final Blood? I know they did Last Blood a few years ago, but yeah, you want to do Final Blood or something like that, especially off of the back of Tulsa King? You got something there. I really got something there. And John Voight, well, I think he's just old as hell, so whatever. Donald Trump has made waves once again, this time by appointing 3 prominent Hollywood legends, Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and John Voight, as special ambassadors tasked with reviving Hollywood's struggling industries. Well, what's he going to do exactly? Because we heard about these announcements, and it's like, maybe it's a bit of a meme, but what are we doing here? With Hollywood's domestic box office revenues down 23.5% from pre-pandemic levels, and the 2023 actors and writers strike still leaving their mark, Trump's move signals a bold plan to steer the entertainment capital away from identity politics and agenda-driven narratives that have led to widespread audience alienation and declining profits. Yeah. In the announcement on Truth Social, Trump stated, "It's my honor to announce John Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors to the great but very troubled place of Hollywood, California. They will serve as special envoys for me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost so much business over the last 4 years, to foreign countries, back bigger, better, and stronger than ever." Which, yeah, man. Okay. When it comes to memorable movies and memorable pieces of entertainment coming out in recent years, so much of it is coming out of the East, okay? Japan, Korea, or China, whether it be gaming, television, or movies, okay? When it comes to movies, what has left a bigger mark in the, genre of monster movies, okay? Are people still talking about Godzilla X Kong, or are they talking about Godzilla -1? When it comes to television, has anything left a bigger mark than Squid Game Season 1, Season 2 notwithstanding? And when it comes to gaming, like, what was the biggest game last year? Black Myth Wukong, okay? Stellar Blade also had a significant amount of attention paid to it. And of course, my favorite game of last year, and I get to reference it in a video that I do about Sylvester Stallone and Arnie of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like, come on, man. Come on, we are making this bigger, better, and stronger, baby. This appointment comes at a time when Hollywood is grappling with significant challenges, including financial strain from declining box office returns and a growing exodus of talent and production dollars to more business-friendly international locations like Canada and Australia and the UK as well, because a lot of tax breaks that are up there for sure in all of these different places. Once a bastion of creativity and cultural influence, Hollywood has struggled in recent years to connect with audiences, many of whom feel disenfranchised by the relentless focus on divisive social agendas instead of quality storytelling. But can we get back to a golden age of Hollywood? Well, you take a look at the people that are there, but then you also have to factor in the writers and the actors strike of 2023 and a lot of the provisions that came around because of that. Regardless of where these films end up getting made, they're still adhering. If they have to adhere to the SAG-AFTRA rules, they still have to have writers' rooms. They still have to have different diversity boxes checked. But of course, there were a bunch of different contracts that were terminated via force majeure due to the length and the longevity of some of those strikes. So some of the more unsavory projects did ultimately end up getting canceled, but a lot of the stuff that was in place is still there because the people that brought it to fruition have been entrenched there. So there's going to be some growing pains. Actually, I think the perfect example of that right now is Marvel. okay, because you got Captain Black Falcon America Man about to be released, not going to end up performing all that well. Within the next few days or so, you've got, just Marvel dumping your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man with Norman Osborn. I'm somewhat of a myself. Then you've also got Ironheart later this year, which, Jesus Christ, man, how much slop. Oh, yeah, and then, of course, the Thunderbolts. Does anybody remember that? No, exactly. That's going to come and go in May, and nobody at all. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Captain America probably performs better than the Thunderbolts, but it'll be interesting to see. But then, of course, pretending to turn things around by key-jangling Robert Downey Jr., Doctor Doom with the Fantastic Four, and Daredevil Born Again coming out in March, it's like you can see where there's a bit of a change coming around, potentially, but then at the same time, there's still a bunch of slop in the pipe. So yeah, turning around Hollywood, it's very possible. Okay, it's very possible, but there's a lot of stuff going against it. A lot of activists in very important positions, a lot of people who definitely want this type of stuff. It's not like it's getting forced from upon high. There are true believers in a bunch of controlling a bunch of the levers of power. Take a look at Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, and Star Wars is proof positive of that. But then you've also got, the big problem of Hollywood being in California, and California just absolutely driving out business. Like, you even got Mark Zuckerberg leaving the place. You've got Silicon Valley emptying out and moving to more tax-friendly places. They might try to spin it as being, less divisive, less ideological, but if you cannot separate, and this is something that a conservative-minded person has had to do for their entire life. Hell, just simply going back to Arnie, separating the art from the artist. That is something that Hollywood is going to have to reckon with if they hope to survive moving forward. Separating the politics from the artist. Simply getting back to what you're good at. Mark Hamill, great voice actor, plays the hell out of a good, virtuous Luke Skywalker, which kind of lets you know that the guy has a bit of talent, because as he's shown on social media in recent years, the fact that he can play somebody who is such a white meat babyface just goes to show you that acting really has a lot of talent behind it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.